Well, welcome everybody to the launch of the Magna Carta's 2026 essay competition. My name is David Locke, and I have the pleasure of being Secretary General of the Magna Carta Observatory. And this afternoon, I'm going to be working with a member of our Governing Council and one of the winners of the competition last year. And I'd like them now to introduce themselves. Kate, would you like to start?
Oh, I will. Well, I want to say good morning to everyone. I see your names and I see some of your faces. Dominic, I see your face. Adam, I see your face, but to the rest of you, Lucia, Anka, Mohammed, Miriam, and many, many others, welcome. I'm delighted to have a chance to speak to you. And Andreas, hello, Anna. I'm beginning to see more faces, which is wonderful. My name is Catherine Stimson. I am commonly called Kate. I am speaking to you from my own study, so you see the books behind me, in a small town about 100 miles from New York. So I am a voice from an America currently in some, shall I put it politely, turmoil, where we're fighting very hard, if I may say so, to preserve the democratic values and the values of the good university. I'm delighted to be able to speak to you later. I'm delighted that you were interested in this essay competition. There seems to me so important that we have a kind of communication amongst ourselves and around the globe about values that we cherish and must fight for.
Thank you very much indeed. I should say that Kate is a professor at New York University and Dean Emerita at their Graduate School of Arts and Science. The other person working with me this afternoon is Harleen Kaur. Harleen, originally from India, and now a postgraduate student at the University of Toronto, Canada. Harleen, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. Thank you so much, David. Hi, everyone. My name is Harleen Kaur, and as David said, I'm from India. I recently completed my master's in sustainability management from University of Toronto. And I'm so excited to see you all guys because I was at the same place last year listening to this launch competition of the essay. And you guys are going to have an amazing time writing this essay and going through this whole process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll come back to you later in the webinar.
Yeah.
I should also introduce other partners who are involved with us in this essay competition. The World Access to Higher Education Network has partnered with us for 3 years. And they not only provide some financial assistance, but they, as one of the options for the winners, they allow them to join in with their annual conference. And the winners last year spoke to the actual board of WAHEN, which was quite an experience. Harleen might say a little bit more about that later on, but it certainly enriched the prize. And Graham Atherton from WAHEN was hoping to be with us this afternoon, but unfortunately events have conspired against him. The other partner that I would like to mention is the Global Student Forum. This is a massive organization of student unions from around the globe. They nominate one member to the governing body of Magna Carta, and they work with us in all sorts of ways on our future generation strategy, but more of that later. Just a word or two about housekeeping before we go on. If you have any questions, either about the competition or based on what any of our speakers say, could you please put them in the chat? We've allowed some time at the end to deal with those. Secondly, all of you will receive an email tomorrow morning with the details of this year's competition, the topic, the rules, and other details as well. You can also access that from the Magna Carta website if you wish to do so. And finally, to tell you that this webinar is being recorded. It will be put on YouTube, and last year a massive number of people actually watched it. Let me just start by talking a little bit about the Magna Carta Observatory and the Magna Carta Universitatum. And this is the 4th year in which we have run an essay competition. It's a very important part of what we are calling our Future Generations strategy. We do events with the Global Student Forum, but this is our largest and our most widespread competition. And the thinking behind it simply is that it alerts people to the fundamental values of higher education, and whether their careers progress into higher education or not, those values are important for life. Each year we have a different topic, and of course across 10 years we will probably range most of the way round. But this year we are going to focus on the humanities. We are inviting you to reflect on the impact that the humanities have on access to education and the success of students during their time at university. More specifically, the question this year is, how have the humanities influenced your entry to and or your experience of higher education? Now, if you're an engineer, please don't switch off at this point, because you will be surprised how much the humanities impact what we do. Now, the fundamental document that all of this is based on is a document called the Magna Carta Universitatum. It was first signed in 1988, when universities in Europe in particular were having a difficult time, and the University of Bologna was coming up to its 900th anniversary. And working with the forerunner of the European University Association, wise people met and decided that something should be done to say to the world what the fundamental values of higher education are. And on the 18th of September 1988, when the University of Bologna was celebrating its 900th anniversary, this document was signed for the first time by 388 rectors from all around the world. It's a very short document. I commend you to read it. The key principles are that universities should be autonomous and intellectually and morally free from all political influence and economic power. Teaching and research should be inseparable, with students engaged in the search for knowledge and greater understanding. There should be free inquiry and debate, with openness to dialogue and rejection of intolerance. Universities should serve society and have a reliable social contract with civil society so as to promote health, prosperity, and enlightenment around the world. That document has now been signed by 1,011 universities from 94 countries around the world. It is increasingly being cited in various places and featured in conferences. And as universities in many countries are experiencing difficult times, then it's a great strength that that document is still relied on. The Magna Carta Observatory, to oversee and promote the document, was set up in 2000. It's a very small organization. I am half of its staff and I am half-time, and the other half of its staff is sitting behind the screen here operating this webinar for us. We have a strategy which includes 5 strands: our Living Values Project, our research strategy, and we want to look more into autonomy and to academic freedom. And the 5th strand, and the relevant one for today, is our Future Generation strand. We have 2 students on our governing council, and they are equal members of the governing council. They are not there as tokens. They are, both of them, enormously effective. Now, having introduced you to the Universitatem and the Magna Carta Observatory, our program for today is that I'm going to first ask Kate to go through why we chose the humanities as the topic for this year. And then I'm going to have a conversation with Harleen about her experience. And we'll finish off by looking at some of the details of this year's competition. And let me say finally, before handing to Kate, our aim today is to help you to produce a winning essay. So, Kate, over to you.
Well, again, welcome to everybody. I love the humanities. They are a part of the liberal arts. And as I speak to you today, I hope my love for the humanities comes forward. I don't see them as a set of dry and dusty subjects that you have to take when you're doing secondary education. I see the humanities as guides to wisdom, guides to beauty, and guides to truth. Call me an idealist, but when it comes to the humanities, I am. Quite frankly, and I'm only going to speak for a couple of minutes because I really want to hear your questions, and I really want to see what's on the chat, and I want to see what Harleen is going to say. So in my couple of minutes, I would suggest to you, there is no culture that does not have its own version of the humanities. Because what do the humanities do? They explore what it means to be human. We're all human beings, some of us better than others, some of us worse than others. But we're all human. And over time, over space, what have people said this means? And to be in the humanities is an ongoing, incessant, never-ending exploration of what it means to be human. Now, my hunch is, forgive me if I'm wrong, that perhaps many of us on this webinar think of the humanities as a set of disciplinary inquiries. We see them as belonging to the classroom, perhaps to the library. So we think of history, we think of religion, we think of languages and literatures, We think of the classics, we think of philosophy, we think of ethics. That's our sense of the humanities for many of us. For others, the humanities are a set of interdisciplinary inquiries that embrace the humanities and other subjects. I have happily taught courses in law and literature, bringing together in a law school. Actually, you should be relieved to know that I taught it with a real lawyer, but bringing together law and the literature about the law. Kafka, for example. There's marvelous interdisciplinary work going on between music and the neurosciences. What is the effect of music on the working of the brain and vice versa? In work, which is very deeply rooted on the humanities and mathematics. And there's the medical humanities. But this is what goes on within academic disciplines, crossing them over. But behind everything is the question, what does it mean to be human? And the answers are so varied that the humanities explore complexities, disagreements, diversities, and quarrels. In the same, absolutely the same decade, one man in Europe answering the question of German philosopher, what does it mean to be human, said, God is dead and we have killed him. That was his answer. And at exactly the same time, another humanist, a priest, said, to what serves mortal beauty? These two approaches that humanists must work with, two divergent approaches. So, given this situation, what do the humanities prize? Curiosity. Curiosity. They prize the ability to ask questions, the capacity for critical thinking, and so importantly, the courage to propose and to test values. At their best, humanists are warriors for saying what our values are, should be, and perhaps quarreling about this. Nothing human is alien to humanistic thought. And indeed, through exploration, through dialogue, the humanities are self-correcting. There have been some awful answers to the question, what does it mean to be human? One of them has been hierarchical. If I'm a human being, I'm great. And you're not a human being. Maybe you're of the wrong race. You're not a human being and you're not great. And those answers have to be dispelled. So today, we need these skills and these talents. I was very happy that the essays this year were going to be about the humanities. These ancient habits of thought that are so relevant throughout time. What are two reasons, at least? You all know, far better than I, that we live in an age of disinformation. I think the humanities help us sort out. They help us sort out the difference between fiction, an aesthetic experience, and a lie. They help us sort out what we can trust and what we can't trust. And in the age of disinformation, they help with these inquiries. They help with these inquiries for us to figure out what might be reliable, what is a beautiful and pleasing aesthetic fiction, a novel, for example, and what is disgusting, although perhaps effective, propaganda. So there was a recent article in America by a woman praising the humanities, and she wrote, making a pun in the title of her article, "What AI can't do." And she spelled Kant, Kant, after the philosopher. And she was asking, what can AI not do that philosophy can, or the humanities can? And her answer was, through the humanities, we study empathy and also capacity for hatred. We study human emotions. We study psychology. We study such Shakespearean figures as Hamlet and Ophelia. So this is one reason why the humanities have such value now. Our guides through the thicket and the thorns of disinformation. And next, well, I mentioned AI. I don't have to tell anybody in the audience of this webinar about the power of AI today. And here is this force coming in, perhaps dominating our work and play. But humanities will help us figure out, at least for now, what is human and what is not human about AI. It's a human creation. Is it us? Is it partly us? But what are the relationships that we want to determine as best we can between AI and the meanings of being human? So I would suggest to you, in the value of the humanities now in an age of disinformation and in the age of AI, I would suggest to you that our student essayists have both inherited the great global legacies of the humanities. And again, I don't know a culture that doesn't have its version of the humanities, whether they're in the university or not. But our student essays are not only legatees, they have also had the role of pioneer thrust upon them. For as I look out at the students, you are the first generation to live with chatbots on a daily basis and to take them for granted. For you, Gemini is not simply a split, not only an astrological figure, mythological figure. Gemini is a part of your daily life. So I very much look forward to the singular and original ideas that the student essays will bring us all. As you know, because you've studied our rules, we have a strict rule against having the essays written by AI. We want to hear human voices about the meanings of being human in your experience and elsewhere. I very much, as a judge and as a humanist, I am very eager to see what wisdom, what ideas you bring us, where your curiosity has led us. Be iconoclastic, be bold, be a humanist. David, over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Kate. I knew you would inspire people. Before I turn to Harleen, I should point out that I'm delighted that we have got previous winners of this competition on the call this afternoon. And we have got some judges on the call this afternoon. And you are all most welcome. Harleen, what inspired you to enter the competition last year?
Oh, David, first of all, thank you for having me here again. And I'm delighted that other winners are joining as well. So I was inspired to enter the competition because the theme of higher education felt deeply personal to me. It was that, as I said, I come from India, and within India, from a very small village where access to higher education is shaped by various barriers like gender expectation, finances, safety, language, and lack of information. So, in my own journey, my mother played the most important role. She did not have access to education she wanted for herself, but she made sure that I did. So when I saw this competition, I felt like it was an opportunity to turn my personal experience into a broader message about access and inclusion. So I did not want to write only about the problem. I wanted to propose solutions, what universities could realistically adopt to support the women and before admission and after they enter the higher education.
I know it was 12 months ago
Yes.
almost that you wrote it, but could you briefly summarize your essay and the sort of positive points that you left us with?
Yeah, of course. So my essay was titled as Empowering Rural Women Through Inclusive Education, which focused on rural women, obviously, and as one of the most underrepresented groups in the higher education. I argued that the access to education should not begin only at the university gate. For many rural women, the barriers begin much earlier, like with the families, communities, our language, safety concern, as I mentioned, and lack of exposure. So my essay proposed two-stage model. The first is pre-admission engagement, where universities work with rural communities through local information centers, guidance in local languages, female role models, simplified application support system, family engagement. And the second stage proposed post admission inclusion, where universities provide tailored orientation, language support, mentorship, financial guidance, feedback systems for rural and international students. So, the key message that I would like the world to hear is that education is not enough if students are not supported to belong and succeed. And as we know that talent exists everywhere, but opportunity does not. Universities, therefore, must actively build bridges with the stakeholders, communities, and instead of expecting students to navigate these unfamiliar systems alone.
Mm. I'll share with colleagues on the call that Arlene made a presentation to the World Access to Higher Education Board, and there was a wonderful sort of silent acceptance or acceptance in silence of the very powerful and personal message that Harleen put through that. And you've got a glimpse of that this afternoon. But Harleen, can you say a word about the prize? And in asking you to do that, can you sort of extend it a bit and talk about your experience with the WAHEN board, the conference, and with your fellow prize winners?
Yeah, of course. So winning the prize was extremely meaningful. I did not expect it at all. But it made me feel that the story that was rooted in a small village could matter on a global platform. And meeting with the Vahan board helped me see that access to higher education is not only local or a national issue, it's a global challenge with different forms across different countries. And the conference with University of Cape was very powerful experience as well. Being surrounded by people working on education, access, equity, institutional change helped me see that essay as a part of larger movement. It was not only about presenting my own story, but also about listening to others and understanding that how these universities around the world are trying to become more inclusive. That experience gave me confidence that lived experience is also a form of knowledge. It reminded me that students can contribute meaningfully to the global conversation on education and social change. And talking about my experience of working with the other winners was honestly one of the most special part of the entire experience. We came from different countries with different backgrounds and different academic journeys, but we connected so naturally through our shared belief that education should be more accessible and inclusive. What stood out to me the most was how quickly that bond formed within all of us. It never felt like I was meeting these strangers for the first time. Each of the a person, the winners hold a very special place in my heart. And some of the happiest memories from the competition are just simply being with them, walking through the streets of Cape Town, exploring the University of Cape, sharing stories, laughing and learning from each other. So I would say that that was one of the most beautiful part of the experience, meeting people I had never known before, developing such genuine connection in just few days. And honestly, even now talking about those days makes me nostalgic. The prize obviously gave me the recognition, but the people I met made the experience just unforgettable.
And you've gone on in your university to become, let's say, a bit of a media star
Yeah.
in the sense that you have taken those principles, you have engaged, and you have done things which I know your university is extremely pleased with. Would you like to say a word about some of those?
Of course. So when I got this prize, I went on to sort of like explain what Magna Carta Observatory is to my cohort, and then the whole management that looks after different programs in our masters. Um, so what happened was everyone was so delighted to hear this experience and they wanted to know more about this. And when I explained it to them, they just wanted to know the whole story, how it happened and what did I write. And this whole story got published in the news of my university, as I mentioned, University of Toronto. And then that sort of gave me recognition to talk about this experience more and more. And many people learned about this essay competition through that, and also gave me the chance to share my story as well, like I shared before. So
Right.
this whole experience was just amazing. I mean, with this, I, I would say that I am not as confident person as I am right now before this competition. So that that's just an amazing thing that I've experienced throughout this whole year.
Well, it was absolutely amazing to have you with us, and your contribution to the team was enormous. And you will always be special in the heart of Magna Carta now. So thank you very much. Let us segue from the prize last year to the prize this year, which is for up to 5 winners to present their essays and participate in discussions with an international audience at the World Access to Higher Education Network meeting, which will be in Australia, in Sydney, in November. You will be flown there. you will be accommodated. You will work with your colleague winners, and there will be time for you to do other things in Sydney. That is one choice. The other choice that you have is to join the Magna Carta's annual anniversary conference, which this year will be in Vilnius, Lithuania, from the 14th to the 16th of October. And I can tell you that one of the winners from last year, who was on the call with us, wasn't able to go to Cape Town, but will be coming to Vilnius to take part in our conference there. So that is the prize. To enter it, you have to be a registered student in any country. Now, the only exception to that is women from Afghanistan who have some recent experience of higher education, but who, for technical reasons in that country, are not registered at a university. The details that I'm going to share with you now will be emailed to you tomorrow morning. They will be put up on our website, and they will be available through the recording of this, which will be put up on YouTube tomorrow morning. The closing date for the submission of essays is the 13th of July, and the judges' timescale is such that the winners will be announced on the 4th of September. Essays must be submitted in English, and they must not exceed 1,000 words. The judges are quite strict about that. There will be a link in the details which should be used to submit your essays. Now, there are 4 criteria that the essays will be judged on, and there's more detail in the document that will be put up tomorrow. The context and definition, relevance to the theme, the depth of your reflection and critical thinking, and awareness and authenticity. Now, we have an internationally independently chaired international judging panel. We have 2 students on that panel, one of whom is Megan Lai, who was one of the winners last year, and one is Peter Kwasikoji, who is formerly Secretary General of the All Africa Students' Union and a member of the Governing Council. The judging panel has been chosen to be international. So, for instance, we have people from India, we have people from the United Kingdom, we have people from America, and we also have people connected with some of the most significant bodies on the planet. The global leader for tertiary education and senior education specialist of the World Bank, Roberta Malley-Bassett, is one of our judges. And Emma Harden-Wolfson, who previously had a senior role with UNESCO, is also one of our judges. We have judges that are connected with other bits of the Magna Carta's work, including Professor Caroline Parker, who's been quite instrumental in our Living Values project. Kate is a judge, and we have Dr. Nidhi from India who is a judge. I wish we could. We obviously don't, but I wish we could record the final meetings of the judges when we get down to the last 20 essays and the insights of those people and their arguments. Because it is a tremendously rich discussion. Now, one or two rules that I'm going to draw to your attention. You can only enter one essay. If you have entered in previous years, you can enter in this year too. You must not put your name nor the name of your university in any way that can be identified in the sort of headlines or whatever for your essay. We insist on this so that the judges are marking the essays as blind as they possibly can. Now, we do recognize that sometimes you may want to make reference to your university, and that's okay. But any essay with your name in the file identifier or in the essay will not be taken through to judging. Essays must be all your work. Please do not use AI. We take the essays through 3 independent AI checkers. And if there is consistent evidence that AI has been used, that essay does not progress through to the judging. All right. Now, at the discretion of the judges, we may invite the writer of a shortlisted essay to a short online discussion. That might be in the situation if we have doubts about something or we want to clarify something ourselves. And failure to comply with these instructions will result in disqualification. Sorry if I sound like a stern head teacher in giving those instructions, but we want to be fair to all. And over the previous 3 years, that's the way we've learned to do it. Kate, I wonder if I might come back to you and ask you or invite you to just say a few words about what the judges are looking for, perhaps over and above the things that I have mentioned.
Well, I may repeat some of them. Judges are, I've now done this for several years, and the judges are very different people. But here are some of the commonalities. The first commonality is the insistence on each essay being anonymous. We do not know who the essayist might be. We do not know the institution from which the essayist might come. We are looking at 1,000 words on a page, or on a printout, or on a screen. We're looking at what has been created, not who the creator is at this point. Next, this is a group process. We read individually, but every essay has at least 2 judges reading it. We score them, we mark them, and then the marks are accumulated. The final essays, 20 finalists, are read by everyone. So that in the beginning, each essay has 2 readers, and in the final rounds, the 20 finalists each of them, those essays, is read by everyone. And David's right about the final meetings. There are disagreements, but the whole group is involved in those disagreements. What do I look for? And I don't think I'm an outlier here. I look for freshness of voice. What is the voice I am hearing? Sometimes I stop and I read an essay out loud. I don't want to hear a rote voice, but what is the feeling? What is the voice? Do I hear an individual voice in these 1,000 words or less? I remember an essay that began, "University administrators of the world, listen to me." Well, I thought, there is a voice here. Secondly, strength of argument. Not an argument that sprawls, like a dish that's been thrown out, but a strong and coherent argument. Third, this may sound very vague, the ability to ground the general and the particular. Not just a series of abstractions, but if they're generalizations, how do they arise out of an argument? Or if they're generalizations, give an example. Do the abstract in the concrete and work them together, as very good essays do. Fourth, language matters. These are written works. What is the attention to language? You don't all have to write like Shakespeare. Nobody writes like Shakespeare except Shakespeare. Or you don't all have to write like Toni Morrison, the great American novelist. Nobody writes like Toni Morrison except Toni Morrison. But language matters. What is the clarity? What is the vivacity of the prose? This is an essay. What is your relationship to language? How can we tell that there might be an occasional flare of a metaphor there? It doesn't have to be wild, although I did say be bold. But as you were writing this, were you aware? Is there an awareness of the medium? If these were films, if this was a film competition, what is the awareness of the shot? How is it edited? How is the short film edited? Maybe someday we'll have a film competition. But David is shaking his head. But at the moment, and we are very conscious, for many of the judges, English is not their first language. We are conscious of many of the essayists, perhaps most of them do not have English as their first language. And we are very respectful of the fact that if you are writing in Polish, if you're writing in Italian, Arlene, if you were writing, what language did you speak with your mother in those days when she was so encouraging to you?
I spoke Punjabi.
Punjabi.
Yeah.
We're aware that these essays might be different if you were speaking in the language you first spoke or first wrote in. And again, we understand. So we admire, as an English speaker from birth, I am utterly admiring of the writers who have the nerve, who have perhaps the training, who have the imagination to write in a language other than their own. It's an achievement, and we understand that these essays are not, English is not asked because at this point, it is the global language. But not all of us were born English speakers. In fact, I wasn't born an English speaker. I was born crying. So I was born a baby speaker, a speaker of baby. But again, we are very grateful for the language, the attention to language. Many essayists have other languages in which they could have written. But it's hard to be a judge because there's so many, many, many good essays.
Well, thank you, Kate, and thank you. I think you are, with Peter, our longest serving judge, and we're delighted to have you with us again. We are near the end of our time, and we have a question which I will answer. But Harleen, may I just come to you first? I don't know what it feels like hearing all of this a year after you started on your journey with us, but from your experience, is there anything that you would like to add and to share with people on the call?
Yes, of course. I mean, every of the participant here they want to know what is the right way to win the essay competition, or what we could write that is going to be a winning essay. So I think, as I said, that I did not expect to win this competition at all. I wrote it as my personal story. I wanted to share what what genuinely concerns with, uh, I mean, what resonated with me and what resonated with the people that I was representing. So, with the essay that you write, be personal. As Kate said, they don't want to see mechanical essays or just general things that you would want to write in that. Be very specific with what you are writing, be personal, and start writing early. Don't wait for the deadline to come and then just start writing then, because that would just not make a unique essay. You need to experience that. You need to explore different ideas and see what fits best within those 1,000 words. So it sounds like a lot of words, but honestly, when you start writing, you want to write as much as possible. So to be very specific with respect to the guidance that will be shared on the Magna Carta site, and just start writing it and then cut down to what is really expected from that point of view of judges.
I must
Well,
say that
thank you. Go on.
that recommendation, excuse me, that recommendation of starting with plenty of time applies to judges as well. And
Absolutely.
Harleen, I was one of the first readers of your essay, and I thought,
Ah,
who is this
right.
person?
We
Who is this person?
now have two questions.
Yeah.
And one is, what's the number of students competing? And the answer is, I haven't a clue. My worst nightmare is that the number of essays increases so much that the judges can't cope. The first year we ran this competition, each judge had to read over 80,000 words. That's a good size PhD thesis. And they did it and produced some splendid winners. So my nightmare is, having estimated what the entry might be, that we will go significantly over that. And I think it was around about 150 essays that were actually submitted. But who knows what it will be this year? The humanities may be a more attractive topic. It may be a less attractive topic. Our promotion may work as well. It may not work as well. But it's not the number that matters. It's the quality of the essays and being picked out. The Another question has appeared, which, Kate, do you have access to the chat?
Why don't you read it out loud?
All
I do
right.
have, I do have access, but I
We're
don't have it
we're
on.
fairly short of time, but
Okay.
what are, he says, why are there recent skepticism towards the humanities? Also, how can these disciplines improve the employment outcome of students?
Well, all right. What a fabulous question. I think a lot of the skepticism arises because people now look increasingly, certainly in America, at a higher education degree as a pathway to a well-paying job. And in the beginning, after graduation with a bachelor's degree, until AI, you might be more apt to find a well-paying job in computer science than in the humanities. So I think one reason for the skepticism is an economic calculus. A second reason for the skepticism, which may vary from country to country, is a sense that the humanities are telling truth to power, but they're not telling the full range of stories. So in my country, there's skepticism from more conservative people saying the humanities don't take conservative thought into consideration sufficiently. Again, this may vary from country to country. I'm a great believer that the humanities tell a variety of stories. A third reason for the skepticism to humanities is because of their faith in reading and writing. And these are, if we go back to Aristotle, forgive me, I'm a humanist, go back to Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher, who helped us think of the liberal arts as divided into the linguistic activities and the more scientific activities, which included music, by the way. The humanities will come out of what was called the trivium, which is linguistic, logic, rhetoric, and what have you. And it may be thought that humanists do not speak enough of the scientific languages. What do I think would happen? What I've argued for a long time is broad-based curriculum in which you take in higher education, you don't, and I know this is a very American attitude, or at least in upper levels of secondary school, you have a broad-based curriculum in which you see the connections between the humanities, the social sciences, and the arts, in which you learn a number of languages at once, academic languages. A second thing, and I'm on the board of a college called Bennington College in the States, internships. Humanists go out and take internships in a variety of fields in which what they know becomes trusted and valued. Now, I know this sounds very, very general because we're speaking quickly and this webinar is almost over. But I think these are some of the reasons in the humanities. But what I see coming, and this could just be my idealism, is that what the humanities seek to ingrain in all of us, curiosity, the ability to ask questions, a certain intellectual stamina, these will be more and more necessary as we live in the age of disinformation and in the age of AI. Great question. I wish we could sit down and talk about it together. Thank you for asking it.
Thank you very much indeed, Kate. The questions are flooding in now. Some are easy to answer. One is, may I refer to my country in my answer? Yes, of course you can. And if there's something very specific in your answer about your institution, you can refer to that too. But sort of don't put it up in lights at the front, is what we would ask. Can we issue a certificate for participation? We can. All of the winners will receive certificates. If there are people that come very close to winning but don't make it over the line, we can issue certificates commended certificates and so on. But if you want a certificate to say that you have entered, we can do that too. Last question before I respond to the earlier one. Is there a specific direction of argument? Are we free to choose our own? You are free to choose your own. All right. Now, sorry, another question's come up. This is like live news. This is, you've talked about not referring to our university, but can my essay talk about how I entered the university without even knowing how to hold a tea ruler? And yes, of course, it can. The question I want to finish with is the first one that came in. Could I talk a little bit more specifically about what sort of university difficulties the Magna Carta, I'm not sure whether you mean Magna Carta Universitatum or Observatory, help with? And are they more external or internal? Well, I think it's important to look at two situations. One is where you have a problem, where a country is seeking to change its legislation to restrict the autonomy of universities. That's the sort of situation that the Magna Carta will engage in discreetly. We will work with rectors, we will work with ministers, and because we do things in a way that gives as much dignity as possible to everybody, I'm not going to name countries, but we have influenced the course of legislation in certain countries over the years, all right? And there is the problem situation, and we do get involved where we think we can help. But most of our work is about prevention of that, promotion of the principles, and encouraging people, university leaders, ministers, to appreciate the values of the principles that are expressed. One of our most cited strands of work is our Living Values project, and that is very much internal. Universities will adopt it, they will look at their values, they will look at how they are living their values, and there are all sorts of things on our website which speak about that, you can look at it yourself, or you can take it into your institution and use it. It is completely free and available. We run conferences, we run webinars, we run workshops about individual topics. They're all advertised on our website. And while I've been sharing this with you, a message has popped up on the screen to say that a certificate of participation will be sent when the competition closes. They will only be sent to entrants who have sent a valid essay. That is, it's less than 1,000 words and complies with the rules. So, can I thank all of you?
There's one more question. Do we have time for one more question? I saw.
We're slightly over, Kate, but briefly, yes.
How did the humanities shape access? Did you take a humanities course that opened up or prepared you for university? Did you take a humanities course with a teacher who helped shape your notion of the university? Or was the opposite true? Did you feel that you did not take humanities courses and might have? Or did you take humanities courses that just seemed irrelevant to what you wanted to do at the university and how you could possibly gain access to it? Did you see the humanities a help or a hindrance?
Okay. Thank you very much. Another
Thank you,
question.
everybody. It's been great being with
Hang
you.
on, Rick. We've another question, and it's quite an important one. What does shape access to university mean in the essay title? And it's interesting, the word shape. What we actually say in the essay title is, how have the humanities influenced your entry to? So we don't, the word shape is not in the title, but if you think back to what Kate shared earlier on, how have those things led to your applying for a particular course? So, can I thank you all for coming? Can I thank Harleen and Kate in particular for joining me in this webinar? Can I thank Carla, who has lurked behind the scenes and kept us all on track? I thank again people who have sponsored, the judges, and so on. And I hope that I shall have the pleasure of welcoming you either in Australia or in Lithuania later on this year. Good luck to you all.
Yes. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck,
Thanks for being with us.
everyone. Thank you so much,
you.
David, Kate, and everyone else. And I would like to add just this one thing. You guys are free to reach me on LinkedIn in case of any issues. And yes, good luck going through this journey of writing your experience through form of words.
In 1,000 words or less.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of, if it's the day, rest of the day. If it's the evening for you, the rest of the evening. I was glad to be here. I was very glad to be with you.
We were glad to have you, Kate. Thank you so much, not only for being here today, but for all that you do for
Ta-dum, ta-dum,
Magna Carta and this competition.
Okay. Thank you, David. Arlene, great to meet you. I'd love to meet your mother if she's still with us.
Of course. I mean, yeah, we could arrange that. Nice to meet you as well.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.